Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, with Scott Palmer, Dave Roberts, Lisa Thomas-Laurie, and Mark Howard.
Good evening. In the news, First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton says she is ready to offer written answers to senators on the Whitewater scandal.
And the hero pilot of hostage Flight 847 says he's fighting a losing battle against cancer.
But the big story on Action News tonight is a growing list of disaster-stricken counties in the state of Pennsylvania. The federal government's now declared 25 counties disaster areas after a weekend of flooding. Officials in New Jersey are also asking for relief. We get the latest now on the Pennsylvania situation from Harrisburg correspondent Flora Pastorero.
Harrisburg took a bruising from Mother Nature. The flooding forced tens of thousands of residents to evacuate, and countless businesses were damaged. However, by daybreak, the mighty Susquehanna River was beginning to go home, and the city started focusing on cleaning up. Residents spent the day digging out of the mud and ice left behind by the flood waters. The Walnut Street pedestrian bridge clearly missing 2 links, and in the Harrisburg neighborhood of Shipoke, hit hard by the high water, it was time to dry out. Overnight, Shipoke had another disaster to deal with. An early morning fire destroyed 5 homes and badly damaged 2 others. Plows had to clear chunks of ice before fire trucks could get to the scene. Some firefighters suffered from hypothermia while battling the blaze in 3 feet of freezing water.
Icing that blocks stormwater.
2 visitors to Harrisburg, U.S. Senators Arlen Specter and Rick Santorum, went on a tour of the damaged area. They saw what was left of the Walnut Street Bridge.
Oh, man! It's going to hit the other bridge!
2 sections of the pedestrian crossing were torn off their foundation by boulders of ice over the weekend. The span floated downstream and crashed into another bridge where it fell apart like toothpicks. Today, Specter and Santorum saw the twisted metal wrapped around a piling is all that remains.
And when people are under stress and are being displaced from their houses, there's a lot of pain and suffering out there, and we know that very well.
This afternoon, Governor Tom Ridge met with federal officials. 25 counties in the state have been declared disaster areas, making them eligible for financial aid. However, the 5 counties in southeastern Pennsylvania are not yet on the list.
We're looking at every county the governor's asked us to look at, and we just had a great visit with your state director and our regional director, who is here as well, Rita Calvon, and they're working as a partner.
The same floodwaters that affected Luzerne and Lackawanna County and Bedford and Allegheny affected Armstrong and Philadelphia and Bucks and everybody else.
Pennsylvania now recovering from a 1-2 punch that ravaged the Commonwealth. The price tag from the flooding in the blizzard of '96 is expected to top $700 million. I'm Flora Pastorero, Channel 6 Action News.
A grim search is underway in the Wilkes-Barre and Williamsport areas, where authorities have now confirmed the deaths of 6 people due to flooding. Police also say as many as 34 people across that region are still unaccounted for. Many of them are from this trailer park community north of Williamsport. Rescue teams are continuing their search tonight. The flooding left a Monday morning mess in parts of Chester County as well. The Chance Ford Post Office couldn't deliver mail to Saturday because of flooding, which left debris to clean in the loading area. And nearby PennDOT crews were out trying to salt the intersection of Route 1 and Route 100, which had flooded and turned icy slick. In Bucks County, the Delaware River swarmed over its banks, and homes in Yardley, some of them, like this one, were swamped, and everything from business records to personal mementos were soaked and sometimes destroyed. For some items, no amount of cleaning up or insurance coverage will undo the damage already done.
The state of New Jersey is also drying out from the weekend flooding, and there's bad news to report from Washington tonight. Governor Whitman says that federal emergency management officials do not think the flood damage was bad enough to warrant federal assistance. Tell that to the people who live near the Delaware River, like folks here in Lambertville. They are cleaning up and assessing damage to their homes and their personal items. Some folks who live on nearby Lewis Island were unable to get to shore. They had to go by boat because the bridge, the footbridge, was washed away by the flooding in the Delaware. In Camden, the high water continues to flood-prone Admiral Wilson Boulevard today. That roadway is only partially open at this hour, by the way. If anybody's planning to commute toward Camden or from Camden, all lanes out of Camden are closed. Only one lane is going into Camden at this hour. Coming up at 5:30, by the way, live reaction from Pennsylvania Governor Tom Ridge to the White House accusation that he's waging a public relations war about the federal assistance to the Keystone State.
All right, Mark. Meantime, another news.
Action News continues with Scott Palmer, Dave Roberts, Lisa Thomas-Laurie, and Mark Howard.
Hello again. Here are some of the stories we're following for you tonight on Action News. President Clinton declares several more counties in Philadelphia disaster areas. Police are searching for the killer or killers of 2 teens in Wilmington, Delaware. And activists on both sides of the abortion issue mark the anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision.
And now the details. $700 million, that's the early estimate of damage caused by the blizzard and the flood in Pennsylvania. Cleanup from the flood is in full gear in Harrisburg. Many streets are still covered with several feet of ice chunks. Crews are trying to tackle as much as they can, but it is a mammoth job. Senators Arlen Specter and Rick Santorum saw firsthand today just how big a job it is by touring Harrisburg with city officials. They are vowing to press Washington for as much help as possible to pay for the entire state cleanup. 25 counties have now been declared eligible for disaster relief, but that is fewer than half the counties that need help, and none that have been declared eligible are in southeastern Pennsylvania. Now, one area that will be getting federal aid is the Poconos. The Susquehanna River broke its banks here on Saturday and washed away virtually everything in its path. Some people who returned home today found a huge mess, but officials here have an even bigger concern. 34 people are still missing. Rescue teams searched a hard-hit trailer park north of Williamsport today. Officials are very concerned because 6 people have already been confirmed killed in the region by flooding. That's almost half the statewide total, which stands at 14. And this is the scene in Pittsburgh. About a half dozen cars parked near the Allegheny River were crushed by a large barge thrown into land in the flooding. The 3 rivers swelled to near record levels over the weekend. It took many people by surprise, and damage is very bad here as well. Pittsburgh and its surrounding counties have already been declared eligible for federal disaster relief.
Pennsylvania is still asking for many more counties to be included in the disaster declaration, and Governor Tom Ridge says the federal government is sending too little money too slowly. On the floor of the Senate in Washington today, Majority Leader Bob Dole said his prayers go out to the victims of the blizzard and the flood, and he understands Governor Ridge's anger.
One of the hardest hit states was Pennsylvania. And I saw Governor Ridge on television this morning expressing his concern that the Federal Emergency Management Administration has not been as helpful as Pennsylvanians had hoped. I understand that's being worked out. I hope it is. I hope that the FEMA does their usual good job.
At the White House, Press Secretary Mike McCurry was critical of Governor Ridge for publicly criticizing the federal government. McCurry said, quote, "The governor ran his mouth instead of getting the work done that would have led to getting the assistance." Governor Ridge is joining us now live from the state capitol in Harrisburg. Governor, you're smiling, which I guess indicates that the temperature in all this is lowered a bit.
Oh, no. I mean, I think Mike understands that I'm going to keep pushing Pennsylvania's interest, and I will run my mouth, if that's how he wants to categorize it, until they take care of Pennsylvania's needs and until they qualify the 58 counties that I believe. I helped write that law. I dealt with FEMA in '85 when a series of tornadoes went through my old congressional districts, and you got to move these people along, and they are moving rather slowly. We're making progress, but take a look at the counties. Take a look at Philadelphia and the adjacent counties. Did they incur expenses and have damage from the snow? You bet. Unprecedented. Do they have the same flood waters come through their basements, their homes, their businesses, their streets? You bet. And we're just going to keep pushing until all 58 counties are included.
What's your estimate, Governor? Do you think that before it's all over, the bulk of the state will be included, or may you have to settle somewhere between 25 and 58?
Well, I don't want to settle for right now for one less than 58 counties. I don't want to negotiate against Pennsylvania's interest. I made it very clear today that the weather between January 7th and the floods, it's all related. All 58 counties suffered from the same kind of problems. There are 6 or 7 programs that the federal government provides. Incidentally, the state has to kick in at 25% for some of those programs. We want to, we will qualify all 58 counties and let our individuals, let our families, and let our small businesses, and let our communities come in and press their case.
Governor, we're looking at some videotape right now of the Delaware River, and we just got word from Governor Whitman across that river from you that her state probably will not get federal aid. I know you don't need another argument with the White House, but apparently they're trying to tighten things up here, spend less money.
Well, my experience and my belief is that we can argue politically about a lot of different things, and that's why people register one party or the other. but government should be working together when people, through no fault of their own, through the force of Mother Nature, alter their fate. In this instance, in Pennsylvania, we have 80 weather-related deaths. We have 58 counties underwater. We've got several hundred miles of roads out. 30,000 structures are uninhabitable or really damaged heavily. 150,000 people evacuated. That's the scene. That is a natural disaster. Take care of us.
Let me interrupt you, Governor, and give me one short answer, if you would. You are supporting Bob Dole for president against President Clinton. Is politics involved in all this?
No, not at all. I think that, I talked to the president last night, and I told him thank you for signing the declaration early with regard to the flood assistance. I told him I think we need to do more work with the snow removal, but I reminded him that I had 58 counties involved. Only 6 were initially put on the list.
Not politics, though.
No, I don't think so. Okay. I think he signed what somebody sent him, and my dispute is right now is with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, not the president.
Thank you very much, Governor. Governor Tom Ridge live in Harrisburg.
Well, we wait to see what happens with federal assistance. The cleanup must begin, and for many Delaware Valley homeowners, that's going to be a major job. John Rollins reports tonight from Yardley, Bucks County.
The once angry Delaware was back in its banks today, but it left misery in its wake. 46 Brown Street in Yardley Borough was pretty typical, a basement full of water.
A lot of water.
How many feet would you say you got in your basement?
About 5.5.
This homeowner needed Bill Glatz. Glatz placed one end of a large hose through the basement window and then attached the other end to a giant vacuum on wheels. That truck, of course, was built to clear out septic systems, but it also happens to be excellent at sucking up river water in basements. Needless to say, Bill Glatz and his truck were very busy today. Throughout this small riverside borough, scores of homeowners were cleaning up. Heavy equipment has pushed the big chunks of river ice to the side, but for this art teacher, the frozen flood was remarkable.
There was ice chunks in the road, blocking the road, but they were in such a way that the whole setting, to me, looked like a surrealistic set design for the apocalypse.
Nancy Goldstein and her family were picking through the soggy remains of their basement office, the mission to salvage family photos and books. Goldstein is a teacher and longtime resident.
We have that room prepared in case water comes in there, so everything got put up high. It wasn't high enough.
Patty and Dan Francis returned home from a California vacation Saturday night to find water had claimed their cars and their living room. After 25 years, they had recently canceled their flood insurance, thinking it would never pay off.
We have homeowners, but they were out already, and they said, good luck. No coverage whatsoever. They say it's an act of God.
Patty Francis says despite this setback, friends and neighbors have been great. Saturday, as waters surged, a friend moved the living room furniture to high ground. Today, that friend and others helped pull up the ruined living room carpet. John Rollins, Channel 6 Action News.
There are still some trouble spots as far as flooding's concerned. Take a look now. The live action came on Admiral Wilson Boulevard in Camden. Now, as you can see, traffic is going both ways, and it appears that at least 2 lanes are going toward Camden, 1 lane the other way. But we cannot say for how long this will continue, because a few minutes ago, there was only 1 lane each way, and in that situation, obviously, slow and crowded and wet, and will stay that way. So Camden, Admiral Wilson Boulevard, still a trouble spot. Police now. Police in Wilmington, Delaware, are still searching for clues in the murder of...
Some rain on the way, and then on Thursday, 36 degrees as the colder air comes back in. Stay tuned. Well, the flooding from Pennsylvania to Virginia was the worst in 20 years, and it resulted from several factors, all working against us. The AccuFacts file tonight takes a look at those severe floods. The first factor was rain. The northern tier of Pennsylvania received up to 3 inches within a few hours. That created trillions, that's right, trillions of gallons of runoff. Add in the lightning-fast melting of the snowpack, and in Williamsport, for example, the snowpack went from 26 inches to 1 inch in less than a day. That made trillions more gallons rushing downstream through small creeks into major rivers like the Delaware and the Susquehanna. The fast melt also loosened ice on the streams, but so much ice came downstream it just created jams. Those backups caused more floodings. However, when those jams broke, the sudden rush of water and ice was just too much. The flood levels went even higher. River forecasters don't believe the rains this week will cause more serious flooding, although it's still 25 to 30 inches of snow on the ground in some areas of northern Pennsylvania. We'll take a look at the 5-day forecast.